Hey, what's up, everybody? Coach Arik here with Your Mental Health Toolbox. Hope you all are doing well. And this video is going to be talking about why the importance of this channel. Many of you all may know I'm an international speaker, leadership trainer, run a program called Generation Leadership, which is kind of the heart of what I love to do. It's really getting there. Like, I love keynoting, I really enjoy keynoting. I love telling my stories through keynoting. Um, but there's just something about training that I'm able to kind of get in there beyond an hour and kind of dig a little deeper, get to like really uncover some things, have people walking away really being clear about who they are and how they get to navigate this fun place we call Earth, the world, society, whatever you want to call it. But the thing about it is, um, your mental health toolbox, for some time I've been looking for additional ways to have an impact with people. And in having that impact with people, I wanted to have the impact without always having to be in front of somebody. So it was like, should it be a blog? Should it be a YouTube channel? Should it be Instagram? Should it be what should it be? What should it be? And just kind of like playing around with that idea. I was actually talking with my sister about it, and we were really like taking a look to see how we could have an impact, and I just wasn't really sure. So I'm just gonna back up throughout this year. This year for me has been a tough one, and I want you to understand. Like, over the years, I've done personal development trainings. I've been in them. Have spent a lot of money to go through them. I've done therapy. I've done different things like that, and I have a lot of tools. So literally, things that like upset and bother people don't get to me as quick. Where somebody can say something to one person, they'll get triggered, and they'll just kind of have this response, and I'll just sit there and just kind of like, okay, well, that's what you feel. That is your choice. That is your experience. It doesn't have to be mine. So, and people even looked at me and like, man, I just really wish I knew how to keep it calm and cool and collected like you, in situations like this. But the funny thing is it's using those tools, and sometimes I'm literally having to dig for particular tools to use to not snap on somebody, to go off on somebody. So in that, looking at the past year, I was actually at a conference that I was going through called Journey Within, and it was like a 6-month course on just really digging deeper into who you were, who you are. And so it was definitely eye-opening, and it was literally at the end of a weekend, where I gone through three powerful days. And going through those 3 powerful days, I discovered some things about myself. I discovered what they call the shadow side and all of that, and just how to do that work. And right after that class, I was hanging out with some of my classmates. We went to go grab some chicken wings, and if you know anything about Art Jackson, I love a good chicken wing. Like, that is like I that is one of my favorite go-to foods. But anyway, so we're out, we're having, chicken wings and just having a good time, just kind of talking about what happened in the course. And during that time, I got a phone call from my sister, who at the time, my grandmother had been dealing with cancer. And unfortunately, my sister gave me the call that night that my grandmother had passed. Definitely a hard time. My grandmother was like my second mom, because my mom had me at a very young age, and her having me at a very young age, my grandmother stepped in to really support my mom. So of course, her and I were just naturally close. Um, Fast forward to end of March, April, my other grandmother, who was like that third mother. Basically, like, it was my mom, my grandmother, who I called mother, and then Mommy D. She had been in the hospital, dealing with a few things, and I remember I was in LA, I was in a hotel, and I had gotten a phone call from my dad like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I looked at the phone, and I remember saying to myself, please don't let this be that call. Please don't let this be that call. I didn't pick up the phone right away. I kind of gathered myself because, between like January and March, which is only a couple of days. And then on top of that, I had just celebrated Mother's birthday, March 25th, which was during the time when she passed, and I got in town right away and, got the services and everything together. I was the one who's kind of running, I don't want to say running the show, but just making sure everything that happened, yes, I was grieving, but I didn't get to fully grieve because there was always something to do. There was always someone to look out for there. I mean, even up to the point where like after the service, like literally myself and my cousin rushing to an airport 2 hours away because she had gotten a call from home, which she lives in Arizona. She had gotten a call from home that her son was found unconscious. And so we're like speeding to the airport. She gets on a plane to get to go see him. Thank God he's doing well now. He's much better. Um, but it was just like a lot. And so March 25th, my grandmother's birthday, I was at home and it really hit me that she was no longer with us. So it was like I was just still grieving. And then April 1st, I get that call from my dad, didn't pick up. I go to call him back and say, hey, what's going on? And he said that my grandmother, Mommy D, had transitioned the night before. um, And that was tough. That was super hard because it was like, wait a minute, I'm just kind of getting to an okay level with with mother, and this happens, and it was super hard to take in. It was like a point of disbelief. There was some comfort in knowing that she passed in her sleep. It wasn't like a hard passing. But even still, it was just a lot. And the thing about it is, it was like mother compounded on top of Mommy D. Now things have just become more sensitive. Things have become harder for me. It was just a lot to take in. And again, I have all these tools and I'm using the tools, but it's getting a little bit more difficult because now I'm grieving two of my grandmothers. Um, go through the year, still, trying to work through all of that. And then fast forward to November, I get a call from my sister, basically letting me know that my nephew was not doing well. He had just experienced a breakup with his girlfriend and he wasn't handling it well. And, I talked to him a little bit after she told me that. We had a conversation. He was very sad. It was a side of him I had never seen before because, Amar, I'll say his name, he was very good at hiding what he was going through because he always had this, I'll say, misconception that he always had to have it together. He couldn't show any sign. Him showing being hurt or feeling sad or anything like that was a sign of weakness for him. And literally, like, we had a conversation about strength. And he's like, Unc, I'm not strong right now. I'm not strong right now. Like, I'm crying every 5 minutes. My chest is hurting. I'm going through this. I'm going through that. And I'm like, Amar, like, seriously? The fact that you're even having a conversation about this lets me know that you have a level of strength that a lot of people don't have because people won't talk about this. People won't open up about this, but you are doing that. But for him, he could not grasp that concept of him being strong. We talked, and he had gotten into a better mindset after he and I talked, and things shifted. Even his mom was like, "Yeah, he's kind of bouncing around," and then on Monday, that following Monday, because before when I talked to him on Thursday, that was I was in Atlanta. Monday, I just landed in LA, and literally not even being off the plane for an hour, I get this message from my sister that my nephew has gone out and purchased a gun, and uh, he's talking about this is it. And so I get on the phone with him and I'm talking to him like, hey, like, okay, let's talk about this. Like, what's going on? What did you buy a gun for? And just, it wasn't a judgmental conversation. It was very much, I wanted to keep a space open. I wanted to keep a channel open for him to be able to discuss what he needed to discuss. And I did, and we had several conversations throughout the day, like on the phone for hours that day, just talking through different things. And it was like as soon as he see a glimpse of some positiveness, he would pull back into the darkness of what he was going through. And he's like, Unc, I want you to make sure that everybody gets this letter. I want to make sure business is handled, this and the other. And it was just one of those things where I said everything that I could. I made sure that, we would be on point for everything. And unfortunately, later that night, my nephew Amar died by suicide. That hit me hard and hit me in a way that I had never been affected. I sit on a board, an organization, Kimonos for Kai, and the whole organization is about supporting people, supporting families who have either been affected by suicide, or maybe they have a child who's considering, or a child who's having suicidal ideations, all of that. So we're an organization that really supports that. And I'm a firm believer in providing the tools and everything that you can. And it was just like to have someone so close to me. Like Amar was my first nephew. Amar was like literally when my sister was pregnant, I would like lay on her stomach, talk to Amar. And the day he was born, I got to the hospital. He hadn't opened his eyes. And when I got there and I held him and I started talking, he opened his eyes. And my sister was like, he's used to your voice. And so it was just this connection from the beginning. At a point in time, my sister and I, we got a place together just to support each other. And Amar was very young. So it was like we were co-parenting in a sense, because unfortunately his dad wasn't that much in the picture. But I raised Amar like my own son, and it was such a great opportunity. And so to know all of that and to have all of that, it was difficult, y'all. It was so difficult. And even to this day, I mean, it's just the day after Christmas. Today is December 26th, 2022. And the reason why I'm doing this here on Your Mental Health Toolbox, because I just want to let you all know that, especially around the holidays, things get tough. Yesterday was a tough day. Yesterday I woke up Christmas morning realizing the reality had set in. There would be three people who are very important to me in my life who I would no longer get to celebrate the holidays with. So, again, I'll go back to all of these tools, and thank goodness for the tools that I have. And here's the thing, I am not going to sit here and say that I have an end all to be all. I'm not going to sit here and say I have all of the answers. However, I do know that there are tools out there that can make a difference for people, that made a difference for me and still making a difference for me through this process. Like literally, I I have utilized the tools, but even out of utilizing all the tools, I still realize that I need some more. And so this whole channel is going to be about breaking up the stigma around mental health. It's going to be about breaking up the stigma about getting the support that you need. It's breaking up things like toxic masculinity. I look at my nephew and I know a big part of the reason why it was hard for him to come around and get through this is because at one point in his life, while he was a teenager, he was around that toxic masculine energy and he was around it often. And that's what he knew. That's what he saw. That's what he was accustomed to. That's what he was used to. Even though his mom, was very, she was like a big heart. Like my sister is a big walking heart. And to, it's to break up conversations like that. It's to break up the fear that if you realize you're going through something and it's taking you through hard and you just can't figure it out, you don't have a problem reaching out to get therapy or counseling or whatever that is because, you know, I grew up in a very religious background, and I won't say that my family was like this. However, the community that I grew up in, things like therapy was considered like you're crazy or not of God or, different things like that. I was literally in a church service and uh, I just kind of introduced myself to meditation. And I just remember there was a lady who was speaking that night at the church, and she said something about meditation. And then all of a sudden, she was like, "That's the work of the devil." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, and that just, I don't want to. Yeah, it did upset me because I'm thinking to myself, how is sitting still, being in peace, of the devil? Help me understand that, you know. Um, so all of that being said, like in the beginning, I mentioned like I was looking like how can I have an impact with people, and that led me to doing Your Mental Health Toolbox. And in doing Your Mental Health Toolbox is going to be a YouTube channel that's all about providing different tools. It's all about providing awareness. It's all about leading people in the right direction when they just don't know where to go. And this is super important because, especially nowadays, after the pandemic, listen, I'm an international speaker. I travel all across. And before the pandemic, I experienced people a certain way. After the pandemic, there's just something in the air with people that things have gotten harder, things have gotten tougher. People are not as connected, people are not as aware. And I know that it's a big result of what has happened with the pandemic because, I mean, come on, people were locked away for 2 years and told that they couldn't even connect to their own family. I mean, hello, y'all, seriously. And so, your mental health toolbox, which is, launching very soon, like today's the 26th, I'm going to say by the 28th, we're going to be up and going, moving. Um, excuse me. But I'm starting the process of starting to put those tools in people's hands. And even if it's just an introduction to a tool that leads them to get some further help, you know, it would make a huge difference. As a matter of fact, while we're on here, I'm going to go on my Facebook and I'm going to, post a post. What is something you would like to know or learn about mental health? So I'm going to make this post here and I'm just going to put it out there. What's up, everyone? Question for you. If you wanted to learn or discover something about mental health and support, what would it be? You can answer below or you can send me a direct message. It's time to really start the work and the healing around mental health. Love y'all. And post. we'll see what answers we get along the way as I go through this process. But um, I just really want to put it in the hands of people, you know, particular tools that we can do, particular tools that we can make a huge difference with to really utilize what we have. I mean, and here's the thing, my sister, uh, Sherelle, I call her Doctor. My sister works at a university and she is a psychologist at a university. And it's very interesting. Even when I talk to her, the conversation that we have, like, there's just a very particular way that she asks questions to me, which is very powerful because it's not intrusive. Um, it's not one of those things where, she's out of pocket, and it's very interesting because with my sister, um, one of the things that I saw that it just really had me pay attention, when we lost my nephew, of course, I was on a plane headed there and I was there for about almost a month. But it was very interesting how people almost felt they got in their feels because they wanted to support my sister a particular way, but that wasn't the support that my sister needed. And so, and I'm just gonna say in the Black community, when someone passes, it's like, woo, 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 what can I do for you? Oh, it's just so sad. We love. It's all of that. And for my sister, she was like, I don't need to be around that energy. I don't want to be around people feeling sorry for me. Like I just, yes, I mean, it feels good to hear people say, you know, it's good for me to hear people say, I'm sorry for your loss. But if I ain't talked to you in 5 years, and then you reach out and all of a sudden you're reaching out is, oh my God. I remember when Amara was a little boy, she was like, I don't want that. Like, don't do that. And it was very interesting because some people took offense to it. When, I would tell people Angela's not taking any calls right now, they almost got offended. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is not about you. You're not the one who just lost your child. Like, literally, seriously, there's so much more to it. So much more. And so, I said all that to say, y'all, that literally it's one of those things where your mental health toolbox is going to provide information that you can take, or you can even send to someone else. Like, hey, this is, something to look into. And in doing that, like literally, it can make a huge difference for people. And that's what I want to do. Like, straight up, that is what I want to do. So, you know, while we're on here, mental health. So, a lot of people when they hear mental health, and I grew up um, with my grandmother, who she worked for a place, and like she worked there for years. She worked for a place called Sertoma Center, and she worked with people who had mental disabilities. She taught them how to work in different things, how to go out, have a job, and this, that, and the other. So growing up, like I never felt some type of way, or I was never afraid of someone who, um, had a mental disability. And the thing about it is, is little did I realize that was positioning me in a way where I would have a level of awareness and acceptance that a lot of my people who I grew up with did not. Like literally, when they would have their Christmas party, I would go in there and, maybe I was dancing with someone who had autism. And then the next minute, I was dancing with someone who was showing signs of Alzheimer's, like different things like that. And it never bothered me. Like I was just present with the person for who they were in that moment, and there was just this level of comfort that I always had. I was never afraid. I was never like, oh my God, they're weird. It was never any of that, and I've been blessed in my career to actually go speak at schools where they work with students who are on the spectrum, you know, from autism to Asperger's, which is a form of autism. But even that, like, and literally being able, the only nervous thing that I had about doing, I remember one speech I did, I want to say it was in Ohio. And the one thing I was nervous about was I just knew that there were certain things around certain people who had mental disabilities that I could not do. And so who did I call? I called my grandmother, also called my mom, because my mom also worked in that sector as well. And I'm like, how do I need to change my speech? This and other. And she's like, you don't need to change your speech. The only thing that I would say we need to look out for is don't make any sudden loud noises. That's it. Other than that, go out there and be yourself. They're going to appreciate that because they'll be able to be themselves. And that was some of the best advice I ever got. And it was funny because I went out there, did the speech. I actually had to do it twice. And I had a blast. And I was so blessed and so fortunate to be able to work with these students who have bright lights like any other person. And and that's another reason why I want to do this channel, Your Mental Health Toolbox, is to provide some awareness because unfortunately, in a lot of communities, when someone exhibits certain traits or characteristics of a mental disability, they get shunned, they get made fun of, they get talked about. And sometimes I just want people to know, like, seriously, just learn more. And you know what? Here's the funny thing. A lot of people, when we say mental health, they think it's like, oh, you're crazy, you're this, that, and the other. And when you look up the definition for mental health, it literally says a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. I'll say it again. A person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. So all of us could be having a bad mental health day. Why? Because let's say you broke up. A person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. Unless it was a really bad relationship, like it's going to affect your emotional well-being. It's going to affect your psychology. Why did we break up? Was it on me? What did I do? What didn't I do? Like it's going to have an impact. But see, the funny thing is people look at mental health as this thing, but really it's not what a lot of people think. So let's see here. And I keep going back to the post, you all, because I'm just very interested to see um, if anyone has a response to it. But anyway, so yeah, like it's this thing where if we're not careful, it could impact our families, it could impact our friends, but we're not in a position to make a huge difference because we're so super focused, so super focused on what needs to be done, what needs to be said. Um, well, we don't even have a focus on that. We don't even think about it. Um, so it's really, really one of those things to where if we are taking the time to learn, if we are taking the time to understand, if we're taking the time to get to know, we can have a huger impact, you know? So your mental health channel is going to be about providing information. It's going to be about providing awareness It's going to be about providing tools, and some of the tools may be recognizing signs of depression all the way down to, how do you handle stress when you're moving? Like it's going to be like a toolbox that people will be able to dig into and look into. And, we want that because I'm not saying I'm a one stop shop, but I want someone to be able to find some information that can at least start them on their journey to be able to make this happen. Um, Working in schools across the country, across the globe, one thing that I've seen is like a lot, especially over the last few years, even before the pandemic, was a rise of anxiety and a rise of depression. And, I was just I'm looking at these kids like, wow, like, how did this come to be? But then after doing some research, it makes complete sense. We live in a social media world, where your life is all about what you put on social media, who you know, how many people like your stuff, or this and the other. Or we live in a world where if there's something about yourself where you're not accepted, you suppress it so much that it starts to put you in a funk and you do get depressed. It does not feel good. It does not feel well. So it's very important that we are just creating a space where we can have a healthy dialogue about mental health with our family, with people that we love, people that we care about. That's super important. It is super, super, super important. And it's not going to happen if we are not in a healthy space or we're constantly shunning it, or, different things like that. There's a comedian, love her so much, Amanda Seals, and she talks about it. She talked about it. I went to go see her in stand up, and she was talking about how one of her, I think either her niece or her younger cousin, little girl, was definitely displaying signs of being on the spectrum, having showing signs of being autistic and or having autism. And the funny thing is she she saw it, several other people in the family saw it, but the thing about it was, um, hold on a second. This highlight the goals we are taking on in next 90 days and highlighting your BS goals so we can talk about them. By the way, you all, so this message is to one of my clients. I do coaching. It's something I love to do, actually. So working with a coaching client, and he was kind of sending me uh, emergency text with needing some information about an assignment that I gave him. So anyway, so Amanda Seals was talking about this baby in the family and, showing signs of being autistic, and how a lot of people in the family was like, ain't nothing wrong with that baby. And like literally the child would do something that was off and people would be like, ain't nothing wrong with that baby. And then one day, like she like flips like something at the house, and then the grandpa is like, ain't nothing wrong with that baby. And then all of a sudden, get to grandpa's birthday, they're at Red Lobster and they are having a good old time, and them having a good old time, the baby has a fit, and this little girl, Amanda jokes and she's like, she flips over your admiral's piece. Now you upset, something wrong with that baby. So, but I said all that to say, like, it amazes me how quick we are to look over things. And that's something I want to explore. Like, why are we so quick to look over or even consider that there may be something going on? And here's the thing, like, I also, unfortunately, I know people will use um, having a mental disability or do things to leverage it. And I know I want to be very correct in how I say this, but they will instead of like doing the work or instead of doing what they know they need to do, they'll lean on this and be like, oh, this is what I am, which I think is sad because there are people who are dealing with it. They don't have the choice really um, to have that be something that they can pretend like it's happening, but it's really a part of their life, like for real, for real. So, um, but yes, your mental health is definitely something important. As a matter of fact, I think that's going to be something that I explore. Um, let's see here. Let me check that out. Because I'm really going to be looking for topics that people really want to talk about, like that's super important to them, you know. And I'm going to be doing things to see what people are looking for. What are they looking for? What are they trying to figure out? And I hope this is still recording as I'm talking. Okay, I believe it is. So while that information is pulling up, like it's literally going to be about looking for different ways to impact people, to make a difference for people, to take care of people, and make sure that they're good. And also so that they could just really help one another, help people in their family, help their friends, help a coworker or whatever. All right. I'm sorry. My computer is acting up right now. Give me a moment. I'm sorry, you all. This is taking a little bit longer than I expected. So I'm going to give that a couple of minutes to load up. Looks like it's loaded up. Let's see. And it has. All right. So I'm just going to go in here real quick to check something out. Keyword planner. And let's see. Discover new keywords. Mental health. Get results. Let's see what we got here. So you have mental health, you have mental illness, mental health awareness month. I'm going to look into that. Mental disorder, clinical psychologist, mental health awareness, behavioral health, World Mental Health Day. Wow, powerful. World Mental Health Day 2021. Mental Health Day, bipolar, mental health services, mental health counselor, mental health therapist near me, mental health month, mental health helpline, Rogers Behavioral Health. So they have a lot of great information and topics here that I am going to be digging into actually. Um, awesome. Let's try another word. Let's see here. Anxiety. See what we get with anxiety. So anxiety, OCD, agoraphobia, anxiety symptoms, anxiety disorder, panic attack, anxiety attack, social anxiety. Oh, those are some good ones. Separation anxiety, anxiety attack symptoms, social anxiety disorder, panic disorder, high functioning anxiety, signs of anxiety, anxiety disorder symptoms. Okay, so like this is some very good information. Again, I just want to be able to put out information that not necessarily solves the problem, but has you start the journey of looking into things. And I think that's going to be super important because that will make a huge difference as we're going about all of this. So it's going to be super important that we create the opportunity for people to be able to get the help that they need. I know for me, um, again, like I said, with all the tools that I have, and I'm not ashamed to say it, like with all the tools that I have, like I look at this past year, as I love Marvel movies. Like I love Avengers. I just recently saw, Wakanda Forever. Like I love all of those movies. And there's this thing in these movies where if they're fighting, you're fighting, and then if the person you're fighting somehow gets you down on a knee, it's almost like you're next to surrender or giving up. 2022, with the losses that I've had, have especially after Mar, literally, metaphorically, I felt like I was down on one knee. And in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I need some support. I can't do this alone. And my support is not about praying it away. My support is not about talking to friends who don't have a background in, support. But what it is reaching out to my sister, who's a psychologist. Hey, what's a website I could look into that would make a huge difference for me? To get the support that I need. Hey, quick question for you. Having a conversation with one of my best friends and saying, you know what, I think it's time for me to check in with a therapist. And it was, and here's how you have good people in your life. His response was like, well, what do you need to go see a therapist for? He's like, hey, if that's what you feel you need to do that. Do the thing that you know is going to make a difference for you. And then here's the other thing about 2022. I've had some very amazing moments in 2022. I met someone who I feel like is the answer to my prayer relationship wise. And, we made it official this year. And that was a huge thing for me, like super, super huge. He took me on a birthday trip to Puerto Vallarta, which was beautiful, amazing, gorgeous, and lovely. It was all of that. And, other things, amazing things that have happened. I've been invited to speak with publishers about a book that I had an idea about. And it's just so many different things. Um, and I realized that thankfully, I'm able to see those golden moments. I'm able to celebrate those moments, even when it's super hard, and even with it being super hard, to see the moments, it just helps me realize that, hey, look, life is going to be a roller coaster. And in having it be a roller coaster, you're either going to have things that set you up to be able to get through the roller coaster, or if you don't get that support, it's going to be more of a bumpy ride than you expect. I have a shout out to my sister who is Amar's mom, and it's been a tough time for her. Losing her. Amar was her firstborn. When Amar was younger, if you know my story, I tell the story of him, being hit, and literally being hit. He that was a whole process. So, and all of that, like my sister's going through it, she's working through it. And then also she has two younger girls who, one is only 6. So, she has an understanding of what has happened, but it hasn't emotionally affected her like it's affected my niece, who's a teenager, which by the way, I need to respond to her real quick. Um, so it's like she is really doing an amazing job of just making sure that her daughters are taken care of. I want to make sure this is still recording. It is, okay. Hey, and I call her. So here's the thing about I call my sister baby girl. I call my nephew Shark. Before that, it was Big Man. I call my oldest niece Pretty Girl, and then I call my youngest niece Lovely Girl. I just always have like this name for them. Hey, Pretty Girl, doing good, doing some work on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, she's interested in doing a YouTube channel. So this is going to be another thing that I support her with because I know this is an escape for her. So show. What? Why am I just now finding out about this? Yes. Have not watched season 2 yet. Will be soon. How far are you into it? All right, I just want to make sure that I responded to her to let her know. So, but I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry about that, y'all. And this video really doesn't have like a major. This is what the video is. I just wanted to take some time to just out vent about, why I'm creating Your Mental Health Toolbox channel. And I would love to hear from some of you all. What would you all like to learn about? What would you like to know? What would you like to discover? What would you like to figure out? Um, and I'm just gonna put that out there for everybody. So I'm gonna go back to Facebook. Oh, I closed up Facebook. Didn't even realize it. And let's see if anything has come through on that. It's probably, let's see. Lisa. So I just had someone who I've worked with for years. Lisa, love her energy, love her vibe. So amazing, which reminds me, I need to actually reach out to somebody else. But she just recently lost her grandfather. And I know she was close to her grandfather. So, yeah. So if you're watching this video and you've watched it this far all the way, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out to watch it as R. Jackson just kind of sits here and outflows about everything. But, I think it's important to have this conversation. And I definitely want to talk about it. I definitely want to provide a space for people to talk about it. So it's an opportunity. It's really, really an opportunity, everybody. And just scrolling through Facebook here because I'll tell you one thing: the holidays are literally hard time. I used to coach for a leadership program, and my the person who was my mentor, who worked in the program, she would always tell me to make sure that around the holidays you checked in with people and that people were not alone. And I just kind of remember hearing that, like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? Da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden I realized like it's super important that we're connected to people. And it's not just about, hey, how you doing? Talk to you later. Peace. It's like having a connected conversation. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and we were actually in his hot tub, just like sitting and talking about the woes of the world. And I was saying, how it's important that we ask deeper questions. And in asking the deeper questions, he said, but here's the thing: we can't ask those deeper questions until we're willing to build a connection with someone. And I was like, man, like, how on point is that right now? Like, it's super on point. I mean, it's like, okay, got it. So, you all, I hope that there's something that's resonating for you in this. I hope that there's something that's connecting for you in this. Excuse me. Mm. And I'm hoping that if there's anything that I could support you with or help you with, that I can actually do that. Whether it be in a video, whether it be in sending you some resources, like that would make a huge difference. If I could support you all um, in that. And I'm just checking to see something here. So, so there's quite a few things, you all. And again, as we move forward, I'm just really open to ideas, suggestions that you have. I'd love to hear what some of your stories are, what you have dealt with in the past, or what you're facing right now. Um, what you're facing right now in order for you to be able to move through life. Like, this stuff ain't easy, y'all. It is not easy, contrary to it's not easy, contrary to popular belief. Like, just wanting to really make a difference for everybody. Um, and again, if there's any ideas or any thoughts that you have, like, this is to be able to make a difference for those who need the support, who wants to make it through the process, who needs to actually make sure that everything flows well, everything goes well, everything flows well and goes well. I like it. But you all, it's we got some work to do. We have some work to do. And you know what? First of all, mental health starts with us. It starts with you first. So what are you willing to do to acknowledge your mental health? Is it in a good space? Do you need support? And if so, you hear things about like self care. You always hear about self care, self care, self care, self care. But what does self care look like for you? What it may look like for someone else may not necessarily look like that for you. You know, there's going to be some other things that we talk about regarding that when it comes to the channel. Like, what are some self care tips? Like, because a lot of people, believe it or not, are looking for that, or they don't even know. Sometimes they don't even know that self care is just going for a walk, literally getting out in nature. For some people, they don't realize self care is literally just putting on your favorite song, excuse me, and just getting lost in that song. Some people don't even realize that self care is turning off social media for a few days. So they're not seeing what's going on or seeing all the craziness that's happening and this, that, and the other. But you know what? I definitely want to be someone who does what it takes to create a world that I'll put it this way. I'm having a kid soon. And I want to create a world where when my child grows up, mental health is not like this questionable thing. And I know through his parents, it's definitely not going to be questionable because both my partner and I, like, we are very clear about the power of mental health, self care, making sure you're in a process that supports you. Like, it's all of that. I'm trying to figure out what that beeping is. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry, y'all. It was a van, and I'm just like, what is that? But so, yeah, it's because he and I have a foundation of that. Like, I know our child is going to have that, but how amazing would it be to grow up in a world where that was something that was not a question, or that was not something that was shunned upon, or that was not something that the moment that you see that, you're like, oh my God, like you, oh, you're this, you're that. And I mean, it's funny how life can be viewed. So I think it's just going to be super important that we start to create a safe space to have these conversations, no matter who you are, no matter your background, no matter what you've been through. It's time to start creating those safe spaces to be able to have very real conversations about, like, look, today was not a good day and I'm having these thoughts. Look, today is not a good day. And I noticed I was eating way more than I normally do. Look, I realized that I'm not doing good and I'm about to snap off on people. Like, being able to have real conversations like that and not have it be an issue. You know what I'm saying? So we got some work to do. We have some work to do. And in doing that work and taking the time, like, it's going to be super important that we support one another through that process. When I say support one another through that process, it's going to be important that I can come to you knowing it's a safe space to have a conversation. And you know what? Gone are the days of just holding on to friends who are just people to kiki with. Gone are those days where you have friends who are not up to something. Gone are those days where you have friends who, you know, can help you pick out an outfit but can't help you sort through a day authentically. Like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And listen, there are going to be people in your life who walk out your life. Let them walk out. It's okay. It was, look, everything is for a reason and a season, and sometimes that season may be short, and it's okay. But with that being said, as my time is wrapping up, Your Mental Health Toolbox, as today is December 26th, 2022, a day after Christmas. I wanted to get you on this video to let you know that tools are coming. There are tools out there, but just know that more tools are coming, and I'm going to be providing them the best way I know how, and just giving you all the opportunity to really have some support. I know support is a big thing. I know I needed support. I need support. And even in a good space, like for me, I still know that there are things that need to be done. There are still things I know that need to be handled. So take care of yourself. You are the only you in this world, and you know what? You matter. You're irreplaceable. I so wish my nephew heard those words more than me just saying them. Irreplaceable. You do matter. You are someone who does make a difference for someone just because you simply show up. It's that simple. Don't take that for granted. Like, there are people who you impact, whether you believe it or not. And knowing that you impact those people, why not impact them in a positive way where, like, literally you're taken care of, your cup runneth over, and they get to be blessed by what runs over, not by the emptiness that you're pulling from. So with that being said, my name is Coach Arik Jackson, the creator of Your Mental Health Toolbox, and I look forward to providing you all with some very, very great information as we go through this whole process. All right, y'all. Peace.